What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another 1v1. This time I'm sitting down with Hotancold, another pro player for DarkZero. And we are going to talk about Hotancold's journey from average gamer to pro player for DarkZero and what that journey's been like, some of the milestones along the way. And, hopefully you'll get some insight into Hotancold and how hard he's worked to get here, as well as, what goes into being a pro player. And for anybody out there who's watching, maybe aspiring to be, a professional esports athlete one day, maybe that you'll pick up something from this that can help you in your journey. So with that said, Hotancold, what's up, man?
What's up? How you doing, Dylan?
All right, I'm all right. I'm enjoying the pro league back in action. DarkZero has been playing extremely well. You guys
Yep.
just came off of the big win against TSM, and that puts you into the next group. So I believe it's Space Station is the next game on Monday. So depending
Yeah.
on when we release this, that game may have already been played or could be just around the corner. But I guess we're going to get into obviously your journey here, but do you want to talk a little bit about how the season's going so far and that big win against TSM?
I think the season's been obviously going pretty well so far. We've had a little up and down, I guess. Lost a map to SQ. We definitely shouldn't have lost a map to them. TSM match is fairly close, even though it's a 2-0. It was a lot closer than what a 2-0 stands for. I think we've been putting in the work, and it's finally showing. So that's nice to see from at least our point of view. And yeah, it's been going well.
I want to say the last two times I want to say that you've played TSM, you've lost. What was the difference between those matches and this one?
Honestly, it was just a lot of it was the prep for sure, and just like us being better, honestly. Uh, we've gotten a lot better against their type of play style where, they'll take most of the time leading up to the site, and then they'll just bum rush like all together in unison. That was like kind of our issue in the past. We struggled with that, and we've dealt with it a lot better.
One of the things that stuck out to me in that match against TSM, and correct me if I'm wrong here, it just, from my very casual analysis perspective, it seemed to me like your defensive roams were better than what I'd seen them maybe ever. In that it seemed to me like you were getting kills, wasting time. And I feel like in a lot of whenever I think back to previous matches against TSM, to me, a lot of times it felt like it was more of like a turtle strat, or like the roam wasn't really that effective. And like, it was like a minute and a half left in the round and they're like surrounding the site executing. And this time to me, it felt like they weren't really able to do that as well. Am I on to anything there?
Maybe for Villa because we actually won some defensive rounds on that map. Theme Park, I think we went 1-5 on defense,
Yeah.
which is awful because that's like a super defensive map.
Was
Defense, we've kind of been struggling a little bit lately, just because like we haven't really cemented our roles in defense as well as offense. Like offense, I think we're like the best attacking team in NA right now, like statistically. So we're winning attack rounds on maps where you normally don't win attack rounds. So I think that's kind of like pushed us over TSM.
Yeah, I was looking at Super's ratings the other day. Did you see this? He tweeted them out, and I
Yeah,
think he was showing what the top 15 attackers and defenders, and I think all five of you guys are in the top 15 attackers
yeah.
with that, which is
Pretty sure.
insane. I mean,
I'm
that's
pretty sure it was Paul, Kyle, top two, and then like I was like fourth or fifth, and then Tyler and Alex were like ninth or 10th or something.
think about that.
So
I mean, there's a total of what 8 teams, so that's 40 players in NA Pro League, and all five Dark Zero players are in the top 15 attackers. That's kind of insane. Um,
yeah, especially
so,
in like such a defender meta right now.
yeah,
I mean, it's been like that for a little bit, so just kind of weird.
yeah. All right, so let's get into your background as a gamer. This is something that I think a lot of people are going to be interested in, and I'm definitely interested in. So I guess first question, like, have you always been a gamer? And like, how old are you? When did you start gaming? And let's start there.
Um, to be honest, I don't know like the exact age I started. I just kind of like I've been around games since I remember. My dad and mom, like my whole family basically like played like GoldenEye back in the day. I just remember watching them play that. I've always been like the Pokemon on the Game Boy Light or whatever, Game Boy Advance. I remember playing GoldenEye even myself. I don't know if I was good, probably not. But yeah, I mean, I always kind of grew up like around video games, even if I wasn't the one playing them. So it kind of just like drew me into it.
And how old are you now? Like 22, 23?
I just turned 22 on the 29th.
Okay, okay.
So
Well, happy late birthday.
thank you.
So okay, so your family had consoles growing up. That's what you're saying there.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you started gaming, was it on a PC or console?
Um, hmm. Probably like I started on console, then it kind of transitioned into PC. Honestly, pretty early because my dad used to play like World of Warcraft. So did my uncles, like literally in a guild together. And I remember being like 7 or 8, I think. My dad got me a PC. I don't know
Wow.
why. Yeah, it was awesome. And I remember being in the raids with them at 7 or 8 years old. And I was not good, so I don't know why they let me in, but it was so fun.
So do you remember like? Okay, so I have an 8-year-old son, and I he has a PS4, but I see him like leave it on and stuff, and like I'm just like, I mean, yeah, I would love to get him a PC. I don't know that I'd let him play Siege quite yet, um, but I'm not gonna do it until he like I see him like start to take care of that PS4 a little bit better. Was there any like talk? Do you remember any talk with that? Like, was your dad like, listen, you have to take care of this, or like, did you like have any issues as far as that went?
I mean, there probably was talks, I'm not gonna lie. I think it was a little easier because I do have like an older brother, so he probably just did all that for me, you know. I think we always would game together. You know, he's like 4 years older than me, so he was like at a good enough age to know that stuff already. So that probably helped a lot with that. But yeah, I don't remember like any specific talks about that.
Um, so when do you remember the first like FPS you played on PC that you kind of like really started like getting into?
First FPS I played on PC. Um, hmm, I don't. First is kind of hard. I don't know. Maybe like one of the old Battlefields, or I know the first like FPS I played on console. I think. I mean, I guess GoldenEye counts, but I'm like the main one was like Call of Duty 2 when it didn't even have multiplayer. I would just
Yeah.
like play that with my cousins. And I think the main FPS I played was it's called War Z at the time, but now it's called like Infestation New Z.
Okay.
That was like the game like Summit 1G got like super big on streaming. I used to like watch him with like 30 viewers.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy to see how much he's grown.
Was it? Is it like a horde style game or
It's
something?
it's kind of like a RPG you basically loot. There's loot all around. It's like a huge map you loot, and there's a global inventory that you could put your loot in. So basically, you go into loot, but there's also other like survivors that can kill you and take your loot. But it's like in a zombie apocalypse type setting, so there's zombies as well. You basically like loot. You can go to PvP and then like bring the loot back to your safe zone and put it in your like global inventory.
Hmm. So, what games were you playing before Siege? I mean, Siege has been out now for 5 years, and we're gonna get into your history with that. But I mean, what were you playing before Siege?
Right before Siege, probably like a lot of CS:GO and a lot of League of Legends. Like those were probably my two main games. Just probably throughout my life. I have a lot of hours in League, and I know I have like a good amount of hours in CS:GO. So yeah, that's where all my time went before.
Do you think it's a coincidence that you spent a lot of time in both an FPS and a MOBA, and a lot of people consider Siege to be an FPS MOBA? And like, is it a coincidence that maybe that's why you fell so in love with it?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think because I could like draw aspects of both games. Like there's like roles like there is in MOBAs, for example. In this game, the support players and stuff like that. Although that's not what I played in MOBAs, but uh, I think yeah, the FPS style definitely led me on. I remember like the beta. I was watching like I don't know if you know the streamers like Darkness 429 or something. He used to
I
be a Twitch
that
streamer, and then I
that
I
name
think
sounds
he
familiar.
yeah I watched him play the beta like super early, and I was like this game looks fun.
So, did you get competitive in CS:GO or League at all? Did you try that?
I tried. It was a little hard because I was underage. Obviously, I was like 15, 16. I played like a CEVO in like a CEVO Open tournament and stuff in CS:GO. Tried I got global. It's not like I wasn't like good. I was just like all right at CS:GO. In League of Legends, I tried like making like a team, but I don't know, that game's kind of hard to find like stuff like that. At least it was back then. I got like pretty high rank in League, but nothing like super special.
So what's your first memory of Rainbow Six Siege? Like ever hearing even the name Rainbow Six Siege or the concept or gameplay?
First memory, like I said, was watching that streamer play it. I think it was literally that day. I was at my cousin's. I wasn't even at my house. So I'm like, dude, I'm gonna download this game on your computer. I literally told him, well, I'm gonna download. Uh, then I played it. I think I picked. Surprisingly, I think I picked the recruit with the R4C, the FBI recruit at the time, and that gun was like, dude, this gun's sick. And
That was
that was
that
my
during the
first time
beta?
playing. Yeah, it was during like the first beta. I think it was the first open beta in like December.
Okay. I remember my first memory of Siege. I was a Call of Duty Search and Destroy player at the time on PS4, and my first memory of Siege was the E3 reveal. I don't know if you've ever seen that since then, but it didn't. It looked really cool. It got my attention, but it actually didn't represent what the game was going to turn out to be very well at all. But
Yeah.
that was I remember watching it and being like, that game looks amazing. And I actually my first Rainbow Six Siege video is a Rainbow Six Siege beta review. And I went back and watched it actually the other day, and it's so funny. Remember those old operator icons?
Yeah,
And I think they were actually really cool.
they were. They were.
Yeah, actually, one of the Ubi guys down in Australia, Shane Bailey, sent me one of a shirt the other day that has all the old school operator icons, and then it makes the shape of a six. Shout out to Shane for sending me that. But yeah, not very many people remember that. Like, not many people remember that operators even had different icons and all that stuff. So you played it at your friend's house in the first beta. Did you then buy it on release and start playing it immediately, or what was the next step?
Yeah, I think I bought it. I think you could like pre-order it at that time and during the beta. I think that's what I did. It was like $20, I think, at the time. I'm not sure honestly how much it was. But yeah, I bought it and then I remember just playing like recruit and like fuse up until up until like I was actually like all right at the game.
I think Fuse is like everybody's first main. I honestly
That's what I'm
think
saying.
like I remember like my thought process in the beginning of playing Siege was take my drone, find the objective, and then ping it, get the ping, find the nearest window to that yellow marker or the objective and just put my cluster charge on it and see what
Yep.
happens. I didn't even go through soft floors or anything really with this gadget very often. It was all like windows. And I remember like getting like 3 or 4 kills sometimes with it and stuff, but all right, so like when you played like the beta and you were playing, like, is there anything that you like jumps out to you where you were like, "Whoa, this game is amazing"? Like, at what point did you get like hooked on the game?
I mean, honestly, like pretty instantly. Like I think that was like time where I was not really enjoying CS:GO as much anymore. I was kind of like almost done with that game. I mean, CS:GO you could always go back to and play, just have some fun. But it was just it was a new shooter for me that I've never really experienced because I didn't really play like any of the old Rainbow Six games. I've played them now, and it feels way different. But yeah, it was just like a new like shooting style that I never played. It's kind of like dragged me onto it.
I mean, obviously the mechanics between CS:GO and Siege are way different as far as the shooting mechanics. Did that bother you at all, or were you actually kind of like excited to like get away from the CS:GO mechanics a little bit?
No, I mean it was if you can aim in CS:GO, like a game like where you can just run around and shoot is easy mode basically. So I mean, it definitely was cool to just destroy people.
And not have to worry about stopping and counter strafing and
Yep.
all that. All right. So at what point did you like start playing competitively? I mean, when is there like a moment that you look to like I made the jump from just like hopping on and playing in pubs and playing ranked to like actually scrimming and like starting to like play competitively?
I remember that literally the first moment that I ever like knew that you can like go competitive in a game or like play competitive in Siege. It was watching FPS Zed. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
I
He was a
it's
super
familiar.
old season 1 pro. He played on like the old Orbit. He played on Elevate for a little bit too. But yeah, he was streaming like the first Go For basically. And that was like how to get into Pro League at the time. You know, you like play Go For and you get points, and top 8 teams will go to Pro League. So I watched him play Go For. I'm like, dude, this looks so fun. Like I think at that time I was like Plat 1, Plat 2, which Plat 3 was the highest back then because the ranks were just flip flopped. I don't know why. But yeah, I just remember watching him and then like going onto the Reddit to look for teams, and I found my first team. It was called Blue Esports, which actually is crazy because me and Slash Hug on from now Oxygen were both on the same team before like we even like knew each other.
Wow. So you literally got teamed up with Slash Hug from a Reddit post.
Yeah, he was. I think I don't know who was on the team first. I think I was on the team, and he was like that team was like part of a community with like a bunch of people, and they just found Slash and brought him along too.
Huh. So, like, was that? Do you remember what season that was? Was that even before?
That was before season 1.
That was before Black Ice was released.
Yeah.
Wow. So it was. So it was pretty much. I mean, instant, right? Because I wonder how much time went from the release of the game to Black Ice. Was it a normal 3-month period or was it longer?
I don't know because like that was before Pro League was even like a thing. Like that was to get
Yeah.
into Pro League. I don't even know how long I was playing the game till like before I joined that team. Maybe like a month or two. Just kind of crazy to think about.
So you made your way onto the competitive team there, and did you guys end up qualifying for Pro League through the Growth Force, or what happened there?
No, we got destroyed. Uh, yeah, we were not good. I think like we would used to scrim like other teams. We actually scrimmed my cousin Nix's team at the time. He was on King George's team
What?
at the time. Yeah, it was crazy. So we scrimmed them and we got absolutely
Nick
slaughtered.
Nix was probably like what, like 13 or 14,
Yeah,
right?
he was underage. I was underage and he was more underage. So they obviously we didn't tell anyone.
Right.
But yeah, I remember scrimming their team and them just slaughtering us. I'm like, I got to get off this team. So I go back to the Reddit to look for more teams, and that's when I find Mint's post. Pretty crazy.
What was Mint's post?
It's just like looking for one for like competitive Plat 3 plus, which was obviously Plat 3 was the highest, right under Diamond at the time. I was even Plat 3. I said I was Plat 3. I lied. I was like, I was Plat 2. I'm like, yo, I need to
You
get on
said
this team.
I was Plat 3, but I solo queued a few games, right?
I'm like, I lost a couple games. I got D-ranked. I literally told him that. I was like, yeah, I was Plat 3. I got D-ranked. I never got Plat 3 yet. But yeah, I remember messaging him. I was like, yo, can I get a tryout? It was him and Pojo Man. They tried me out in literally a rank game, not even like a scrim or anything. They tried me out in like 1 or 2 rank games. I just like top fragged both games. They're like, you're on the team.
Wow. So that team was you, Pojo Man, Mint. Who else?
Uh, at the time, it was a team called Headhunters that I
Okay.
joined. It was me, Pojo Man, and Mint. They were like reforming. They were like an old team, but they kicked all the rest. It was us 3. Then we picked up a guy named Crimson Death. And then our last player was Hubble. I don't know if you know who Hubble is, but
Hmm.
he was just like he's been around the scene. He's not really around anymore. He was just he's a French Canadian player. He's hilarious. We have some old clips of him playing with us. Oh my god, it's so funny.
So you guys were called Headhunters at that time, right?
Yeah.
All right. So did you start winning some matches with them? Is that when things really started to shape up a little bit more?
That's when I felt like, yo, I can like probably I could get like to pro league in this game because like we were pretty good. I think there was at that time there was already 2 Go Force played, and there was like I think there was like 5 Go Force, and like the top 8 teams of those 5 Go Force in points would go to pro league. So we had like 3 Go Force to try and get to the top 8. I think we ended up placing literally like 9th, like literally right under 8th. We actually lost to VWS, which at the time had the cheater Clever.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever heard of
I
Clever,
remember
but
that. Yep.
anyone that doesn't know, he was the biggest cheater at season 1. He literally got caught for like wall hacking on stream and stuff.
Yeah. And was
We
playing
lost
in
to
Pro
that.
League at that time,
Yeah,
correct?
and
Yeah.
made it to Pro League. So
Yeah.
we lost to his team to not make it to Pro League, which kind of sucked.
Yeah.
So yeah, at that point it was kind. It was like I don't know like when the next Pro League, like way to get into Pro League is. So we were kind of like lost for a bit as a team.
So, did you miss the first season as the team of Pro League?
As that team, we did not make Pro League season 1.
Okay.
What happened is as soon as because like we were scrimming pro teams that made it in at that time, like people knew that we were like an up and coming team. So we kind of got like poached by other Pro League teams. This is when like our team split up. Mint went to VWS and actually took Clever's spot,
Wow.
the cheater.
Yeah.
So he knew what he was doing. He took his spot, and me, Pojo Man, and Crimson Death all went to Gotham Gaming, which was King George's team with Easy Peasy.
Yeah.
We made a team with them. They were at the time they were 8th place in Pro League, and there was only like 2 or 3 Pro League games left at that time. I don't know how, but you could just make like whole entire team roster changes.
It's the wild, wild west.
Yeah. So yeah, we ended up joining that pro team with like 3 Pro League games left, I think, and I think we won 2 out of the last 3, but we still got 8th place. So yeah.
Okay. So that was the end of season 1, right?
Yes.
So how did you and Mint and Pojo end up back on the same team?
So this is where it gets kind of funny. At the time, I was underage. Season 1, they never asked for identification. Like literally half the league was underage. Like there were players that were like almost making LAN that were underage playing. Like I was on an 8th place team and I played 2 or 3 games of the last season. So I had literally no chance of making like the LAN. I didn't even know like I had to like send them anything. ESL was just like non-existent back then in terms of like, rules. So going on to the season 2, they actually enforced those rules, and you needed to send them like proof that you're 18. So I was 17 at the time, turning 18. I think I was going to turn 18 like halfway through the season of season 2. So we were going to make a team. It was going to be me, Kyle, Mint, Troy Canadian, Young, and someone else, I think. Maybe, I think it was Eclipse, actually. We were going to make a team where it was going to be them 4 and some sub until I turned 18. And I think they just ended up not wanting to do it for some reason. Like Eclipse didn't want to play with certain people. So they kind of broke up. And Mint went and joined King George's team, an exclusive in Pojo, which became the F3 of season 2. And I was basically just teamless for literally 6 games of the Pro League season. I basically quit. I quit Siege in my mind at that time. I just went and played like a new game. I think it was called like Shattered Skies at the time, which is basically like the War Z game I told you is from the creators of that. They just kind of like remade that game into like a new game with like aliens. It was weird. So I literally quit Siege for like a good like 6 months, or like no, not 6 months, like probably like 2 or 3 months.
And then did you get approached by them when they lost a player or something?
As soon as like I was getting ready to turn 18, there was like a couple Pro League games left. I'm like, what am I doing? I might as well just play Pro League. And I tried getting onto their team, but they were going to LAN at that point with Orbit. Like they were the top 2 team in Pro League. So they weren't just going to kick their player, like any players for me. So I think it was Crimson Death, my old teammate. He was on a team with, at the time it was Remorse, a guy named Daps, Top Keck, and like someone else. It was a team called Vex, and they needed a player because I think one of their players literally got banned for cheating.
Oh gosh,
there were some cheaters back then.
Yeah.
So I took that cheater spot and played the last 2 Pro League games with them, and we got slaughtered. So that was nice. And that was basically season 2 for me. Like I only played 2 games that season as well.
And then for season 3, correct me if I'm wrong, but you and Mint end up on the same team and actually at the LAN for season 3 finals, correct?
No, season 3. I did end up back with F3. They ended up kicking Exclusive, which was like their support player at the time. after losing at LAN to Youngtis, I think, which was the LAN winner. They lost to Youngtis. They were kind of mad at Exclusive. I don't think he played very well at the LAN, so they like already knew me, obviously, like Poge and Kyle. They're like, "Yo, we need to pick this kid up." They picked me up to play support, which was not my role at the time. I was the Ash Jaeger main. Ended up playing that whole season with them. We barely didn't make it to LAN. We got third place. That's where the F third came from.
Okay.
Third place Kings. Yeah, we barely made it to third place, and after that season, King George, I think, came to the team and was basically asking to cut me. So I actually got cut from that F3 team and joined another team, like right before season 4.
Wow, this is crazy, man. Like, this is like, how do you remember all this stuff? I guess at the time it was probably like really,
I mean,
like
it was
really
like,
big deals.
yeah, it was big for me because
Right.
like at the time those are like my best friends in terms of like gaming friends, and I just felt betrayed.
So, so how do you take me to the moment like you got cut from the F3 roster? How do you and Mint and Pojo end up on what I remember as the F3 roster, which was like you, Mint, Pojo, who else was on that? That I like when like the F3 charm was out and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll get to that.
Okay,
I'll
all
get
right,
that,
all right,
like
yeah.
right after this. So
Okay.
after getting cut, it was right before season 4. Like season 4 hasn't even started yet. I went to join another team. It was a team called Ferocity, I think, which was like it was me, FPSZ, like Kush, I think, and Talon. I don't know if you know any of those guys.
Yeah, I
But
remember Talon.
they were around the scene. I was on a team with them. Oh, actually, it was with Bacon too.
Oh yeah.
I was on a team with Bacon for literally like 2 days. I remember played a Go For with them. I'm like, dude, this team is good. And then, yeah, they did not want to practice at all. Like literally, Jordan did not want to practice. So what happened is George, the guy who kicked me off the team, or at least was the main driving force, because it's not just one person kicking you. He actually ended up leaving to go join CTM.
Right.
He left to join CTM with Troy and everyone. So now Kyle's like, okay, George and me would always clash. George is gone. Might as well just get me back. So he contacted me, and then that's kind of when I was like, yo, Jordan, I'm not gonna play with your team. You guys aren't even practicing. I'm gonna go join back with F3. And then it was me, Poge, Kyle, Easy Peasy,
Yes.
and Zilchi, I think.
Okay.
That's when we made LAN that season.
Okay.
I think we got top 2. Actually, I think we actually got third that season again.
F3rd.
I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure we got third that season again, and then the next season we got first in NA.
Okay. And that and the season you got first would have been what, year 2, season?
Year 2, season 1.
Okay. So, like thinking back on that journey, like that we've made it through so far. Can you believe that like we're to the place that CG Sports are right now?
No. I didn't really like play the game like thinking like, I'm gonna like do something in this game. I just played for fun. I'm like, okay, I'm pretty good. Might as well just like obviously competition is just more fun. Mm-hmm. Like if you haven't played competition, once you do, it's like you can't really go back. It's just like ranked isn't as fun as competition will ever be. So like once I got to that level, it's just I kept wanting more and more competition because it was just so fun.
So what stands out to you in your time as part of Flipside F3?
What stands out? Making that Poland LAN for sure. That was my first LAN. That was kind of like my way of showing my parents that like this is actually something. Right. I'm traveling to Europe. They've never been to Europe. I'm gonna make money from gaming, which they didn't. No parents like think that that's actually a thing at the time.
Right.
So for me, that was huge. Obviously, we ended up going to the LAN. We got O2'd. We got smacked by G-bots at the time. So that was kind of sad. But yeah, I mean, that was just like, I don't know, it felt like a big break, like I played Pro League for like 4 seasons, didn't do anything, and then we finally made it. It was awesome.
What was it like playing on your first LAN? Was that your first time you've ever played an FPS on LAN?
Yeah,
Okay.
ever.
What was that like?
Besides like 2v2 with my dad and my brother or something,
Right.
but it was awesome. That was the first time like I've ever been out of the US besides like Mexico, especially by myself. That was like a 12-hour flight from like
Yeah.
California all the way to Poland. So that it was, a little nerve-wracking at the time. I've never been on that long of a flight. I
Sure.
remember flying over like I don't know where it was, but it looked like freaking Antarctica. There's just ice everywhere. So that was crazy. Um, yeah, it was just awesome playing the first LAN. Obviously, I was nervous. I think I played pretty well. I think like I was their statistically best player at the LAN. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely nerve wracking for sure.
So the thing that I remember about the F3, the thing that sticks out to me whenever I think of F3, F3 was like almost like a cult classic within Siege. Like there was a really passionate fan base that followed F3. You guys all had personalities. I think a lot of it came from Pojo's Digest. I think that drew a lot of fans into to F3, and you guys were always kind of known too to like have the weird strats and to try the weird stuff. Was there a part of you guys that embraced that identity, or was that like a conscious decision for you guys? Hey, we want to be the guys that do the weird stuff, or did it just happen?
Um, I think that's kind of been like always like Mint's like strategic style. He's like very creative when it comes to that. He's obviously known for being a shield player. Like he's been really good at like the off meta stuff, the stuff that can like obviously win you rounds, but it wins you rounds because they're not used to it type of thing.
Right.
So we were very good at like the default play, but like if you can throw stuff in to throw off your opponents, might as well type of thing.
So after F3, what next?
After F3, we went to SK. It's the same team.
Yeah.
We obviously got a better org. We're actually getting paid salary.
Was
We
that
didn't
the
get paid
first time?
salary
That was the
at
first
all
time
with
that you
F3.
were. That was the so when you joined SK, that was the first time that you got paid anything, as far
First
as
time,
salary.
yeah.
Wow. And
We
you'd
were
been you'd been playing pro for how long at that point before you got like your first salary paycheck?
like 2 or 3 years, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a commitment for sure. But I mean, at the time, like my money just came from streaming. Like I streamed a lot back then. Like that was just how I made most of my money.
Hmm.
Which I had a pretty like decently big stream at the time. I would just stream at nights for from like 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. to freaking like 6 a.m. It was some
Those
late
real
streams.
gamer hours.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like you mentioned, you'd been playing for 2 or 3 years without really getting paid, other than your streaming. Was there like a crossroads for you that you remember where it was like, man, do I go to college? Do I, what do I do? Like, was there a moment that you look back on where we were close to like just giving it up and like doing like the more traditional route?
Yes, for sure. Um, at first, I lived with because my parents were split up. They split up like during my high school, which that honestly that's probably what led me like into like huge gaming because it kind of like took my mind off of that type of thing. They ended up splitting up when I was a senior, so it was like pretty, like around that siege time. Um, yeah, I was living with my mom at first, my mom and my stepdad, and they they were pretty lenient on that type of stuff, like computer stuff. Like as long as I would do my like homework after getting home from school and stuff like that, I'd be able to play games. But there was like a lot of at the time I'm a dumb kid, so there's like a lot of backlash from my stepdad. He'd want me to do like a lot of things when I'm like in like a tournament or something, and
Right.
I just can't.
Right.
So I kind of got like sick of it and moved in with my dad and my stepmom, and I lived with him I think for like a year or two, and there was just a big push from my stepmom to my stepdad to like make me do something. Even
Right.
like that time was like even when I made LAN, like they didn't think like it would go anywhere. Like they wanted me to go to college, which I actually ended up going to college and playing at the same time for like a good like 4 or 5 months. It was like literally right before I made LAN. So like literally while I'm playing to go to LAN, I'm in college. Like I'm going to classes I think like 4 days a week. And like my mind was just not on college. Like it was just so hard to like do anything during class, especially when I'm thinking about I'm making LAN. I'm going to Poland for playing a video game. So it was just like really hard to think about that. And my dad saw that, and obviously like he didn't really like that. And he told me I have like 2 weeks to move all my shit out. Doesn't matter where I go, just as long as I get out of his house. Basically, is what he told me, which was really random to me, because he at least told me that I was gonna have like 6 months to like really prove to him that this was a thing. So yeah, that was a very sad time in my life because like I don't know, I just felt betrayed, obviously. But I mean, looking back, I understand. Like
Yeah, it's tough because there's such a stigma from older people, and obviously I'm older, but I mean even older than me, like the generation like
yeah,
above me, there's such a stigma with gaming, like that it's a waste of time, that it's antisocial, that it's that it's poisoning you, or that it's going to rot your brain or whatever. But yet, like so many of those people, and I'm not saying this is your dad by any means, but
yeah.
so many of those people will sit and watch TV. Like I remember like my dad getting home from work, have dinner, and then he would watch TV from like 8 to 10, and then go to bed. Like, what's the difference between watching TV and playing a video game for a couple of hours? In their minds, it's completely different. But in my mind, like honestly, I think that gaming is a more wholesome activity. You've got hand-eye coordination. You're thinking. You're doing puzzles. You're communicating. If you're playing a multiplayer game, you're communicating. You're making friends. So, I think that's something that I hope really gets changed around in the next 10, 20 years. And I think it's working that way.
Well, the insanely hard thing for me is like my dad literally played video games with me like all my life. Like he already knows. So like it was very hard for me because I know in my mind like it wasn't really like so much him. It was just like my stepmom kind of pressuring him into it.
Sure.
So I mean it was her house that we were living at. So I mean I can understand why. It's just I obviously felt like a little betrayed.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think I understand where he was coming from. I could have done way more. Like I was pretty lazy at the time in terms of doing like other stuff. And obviously, I still like cleaned and everything like that. But like in terms of just like making sure I had a backup plan type of thing, I think I could have definitely been a lot better with that.
So, what advice would you give to somebody who's in a similar situation right now? Like they're grinding, it's their dream to be a pro gamer. Their parents aren't real supportive of it. Like, what if you're going through that yourself? What advice would you give?
Um, I mean, it's hard because it depends on the circumstance. Like for me, like I've at that time like I already made it. Like I'm in pro league. Like I can at least see like some type of future, even though there's a risk. I didn't know where pro league was going to go at that time. I can still see like there were teams getting like starting to get paid and stuff like that. Like there could be a future here. But if you're like a like an amateur like T3 player, like you don't know how far you're gonna go. Like it's so much harder to get in pro league now because like at the time like I was like already in those top players.
Yeah.
I would say like for me it wasn't really hard getting into pro league. The hard thing was like making sure I'm stayed in pro league. Like that's been the hard thing for me because there's been so many players that retired or like can't really keep up with the the evolution of the game.
Sure. So I think my a lot of people ask me similar questions to what I just asked you as far as content creation, and my big thing is like it's a little different with content creation. I don't think content creation is nearly as time consuming as what being a competitive Siege player is now. Not even close. So I always tell people like, do it, have fun with it, but like have a backup plan. Like I wouldn't I wouldn't recommend anybody to not go to trade school or not go to college or whatever they're going to do in order to pursue it. I would say do both because I mean, like you have people like Bosco just finished a chemical engineering degree, like
Yep.
while playing for Space Station at like the highest level. You have people, Narcoleptic Nugget, he's a content creator, just finished his dental degree. Like he legit like now that's a backup plan. Like Narcoleptic Nugget, whenever he's done being a content creator, he just goes and bees a dentist. You know,
Yep.
that's insane. Like it's possible to do both. It's not easy, but if you really want to do it, that's probably the best way. I think that like people like there's people like you, there's people like, you know, I've heard a similar story from Pingu who have literally like gone all in and just dedicated everything and that works, but you don't hear about the people that it doesn't work for.
Yep. And there's a lot. There's a lot
Yeah.
that it doesn't work for. I've known plenty of players that have done that and it just hasn't worked. Just kind of stuck in that like zone of like, working some crappy job and like trying to be pro but can't really. So it's just like I don't even know. Obviously, like I would probably be in college right now, but I don't know what for. You know, I don't like I've wanted to be a lot of different things. I don't really like. There's no like specific thing that kind of like stuck out to me like growing up.
Yeah. So let's fast forward, I guess, to Dark Zero. You guys is there anything I'm missing there? I mean, your time with F3 and SK, from my perspective, you were always one of the best teams in NA, but you fell out of the top two several times. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
just seemed like it was always just a little bit short for you guys to fall into the land, but you were always regarded as one of the top teams.
hmm
And then you get picked up by Dark Zero.
Yes, which was the best part of my career.
But like, hold up. Like, I mean, obviously we know now. Like both of us work for Dark Zero, and we're both really high on the org. We know how great of an org it is. But what did you feel coming from hearing from an org that you'd never heard of before? Were you skeptical at first?
Oh yes, definitely. Because at the time we didn't really have the best of circumstances with either F3 or SK. Not a lot of org support, not really anything from like what we thought of, as of a T1 org.
Right.
So yeah, like Dark Zero's new org, I think they Dark Zero did it very well because they had like I think they went to Kicks and like asked them, about the league and like what teams, and kind of like used Kicks like as like a spokesperson for us. So we're like, okay, who's this org that Kix is contacting us with? I don't think he would like give us some like crappy org to talk to.
Right.
So I remember Zach was talking to Kyle, I think, and then Kyle was gonna come back to us and tell us like how the meeting and stuff went. I just remember him like talking about how like, dude, this org's crazy. Like they're offering like at the time huge salary like compared to what we got, and team house, like crazy team house that we'd all move to, which that's a gamer's dream,
Right.
like, to be in like that type of like environment. Like that was what we wanted since the beginning. So I mean that was huge. It was like so professional because they had like healthcare and stuff in there, like insurance. Like no org that I've ever like even talked to has had that stuff. So I mean it was like a huge upgrade. I remember like the first time we even met Zach, it was at DreamHack Montreal that we were going there under SK, by the way. And he literally flew out just like literally the day of, just to meet us, and like took us out to like some super fancy dinner. And we're like, who is this guy? This guy's insane. He
Yeah.
just
For
like
anybody
flew
who's
us.
not familiar, Zach is the CEO of Dark Zero.
Yeah, DPZ.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just insane. It was mind blowing. It was like I already know that I'm gonna get treated, like the best that I can here. It just like felt like heartwarming.
So then you guys get picked up by DZ. You all move into the house together and live happily ever after, right?
I wouldn't say happily ever after, but there's been some struggles definitely. But I think most everyone knows the story after that. We had some struggles with players. We brought Brandon along,
Yep.
got Jordan, two very good coaches, and it's been a slow grind. Like ever since we got to the house, we've put in more work than we've ever done. Probably probably like the past 4 years before we got here combined has been like this. We've put in more work here than we've ever had.
Wow. And I think it's the level of competition in NA dictates that. I mean, you
Yeah,
look at even looking at last season compared to this season, when you look at the top team in NA to the bottom, the gap is like tiny right now. I feel like you look at how good both DG and the
yep.
Sonics are playing. You know, those are two teams coming in that weren't even in Pro League last year, and I feel like they can both play with anybody.
I
Um,
think I think a huge reason that's happened is because the whole like new NA league. It's so nice for competitive teams because every team has to have a team house in Vegas. That's if you have a team house, obviously there can be some bad circumstances, but usually you'll grow more as a team if you're in that environment. You could talk about
mhm.
things right after, you can fix things, stuff like that. So I think that the best of threes have been so nice. We've played what some teams have already played 9 maps, like 10 maps, and that's literally more than a whole pro league season
Yeah.
combined, and literally like 2 matches. So it's I think that has kind of like pushed every team to just play harder.
So quite a journey. Let me put you on the spot here. What's been the hardest moment for you when you look back at your journey, all the moments you've had so far? Is there like a single moment you can look at and say that was the worst or the hardest for me?
It's probably like 2 moments that come to mind. I would say, uh, definitely like the whole thing with like having to get kicked out of my dad's and stuff at the time, and like kind of like choosing like, hey, do I want to have like good relationships with my family or like play pro? I ended up moving into my cousin's house, not Nick's, my other cousin, but they were like very supportive of everything I did. They gave me the time, and I like to thank them for everything that I've become. But I would say a second moment, hardest moment was probably kicking Nick's from the team. Obviously he's my cousin, so it was very hard for me to do it. I was like kind of like the main person who sat down and told him, because I don't know, I just felt like it'd be easier for him. I didn't want to like hide in the shadows while he got cut. So yeah, that was very hard.
How did he handle that?
Oof. Uh, it was. I mean, if you ever met Nick, he's like very hard headed, especially when it comes to like being competitive with me and stuff like that. Like we're basically like almost best friends like growing up. So that was very hard.
Yeah.
He took it. He probably took it better than some people. He just needed a little bit of time. We're on good terms now. It's not like anyone hates him or he hates any of us. But yeah, it was definitely a struggle at the time.
All right. So what about the best moment?
Best moment. Honestly, the best moment so far has been the Japan LAN.
When you
That
made it to
LAN was
finals?
insane. I mean, you were there.
Yeah.
Like just the atmosphere of Japan like was insane. Like those fans, like we lost in the finals, and we got pretty smoked on like one or two of the maps in the finals. And like after losing, while walking off the stage, like the fans are clapping for us. Like they clapped for like every loser I think in that tournament. Like that was so cool. Like they like stood and like gave us like a standing ovation basically. So I've never seen that in, like any other stage that I've played at.
Japan was amazing. Uh,
Hmm.
Definitely one of the highlights of my career as well. And I think for me, being there as part of DZ and seeing you guys go all the way to the finals was it was amazing. It was just it's one thing to go and watch a LAN. It's amazing. But to
Hmm.
go and watch an org that you represent play on the stage and win is unlike any feeling that I've ever had. And I can even imagine what it's like for you as a player. I'm just talking as a representative of DarkZero to see DarkZero on the stage winning, and in Japan, it was just amazing. So I think we
Yeah,
probably share that.
I mean, I can imagine it's kind of like I felt like Zach was probably feeling like like his kids are like winning like a sports tournament or something. Like I know like that's how I would feel if if my kid destroying in like basketball, just like like I don't know. I think that would just be like awesome to watch someone that you've kind of like almost like molded. So
Sure.
I think that was really awesome for Zach. Probably.
Yeah, it was
Obviously,
cool that he was there.
we didn't get the win. That sucked.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, but still, I mean, the finals in Japan, that was, that's pretty awesome. All right. I think that's pretty much going to wrap us up here. Anything else you want to say?
I mean, no, not really. I just wanted to say like thank you for anyone that's ever that's stuck with me throughout my whole career. It's been a long one. I'm getting old. Somehow I'm still the second youngest on the team. Doesn't make sense to me. Okay, don't let the beard fool you. I'm only 22. But yeah, thank you guys for all the support, and yeah, I truly do appreciate it.
And we got to get those Twitch streams going again, man. You need to get up there and
Yeah,
stream some more.
I need to stream. The practice. Okay, we
Yeah.
practice so much. It's just hard sometimes.
Sure. I understand. Well, Hotancold, thank you so much for sitting down with me. Really fascinating story. Guys, if you enjoyed this, we're going to be trying to do this with all the Dark Zero players eventually. Not sure how long it's going to take for all that to get out. But yeah, if you enjoyed this, make sure you're hitting up Hotancold on his social media outlets. You can we'll have his Twitter link down below, Instagram. What else? Twitch. We'll have his Twitch down there. Yeah.
I think that's it.
Okay. All right. So hit up Hotancold, drop him a follow. I'm sure he'd greatly appreciate that. And you can follow his story from here on out. So with that said, thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one. All right.